welcome to yet another episode of Masters of CX, where we try to engage ourselves with the global CX experts who could share their secrets of having an impeccable CX. Today, we have with us one such global master, Aditi Sud, Chief Marketing and Digital Officer at Travco. Hello, Aditi. Welcome to the Masters of CX.
Hi, Yashasvi. Thank you for having me here. It's great to be here and talking to you.
Likewise. So Aditi, I'll straight away cut to the chase. So let me ask you about, if we talk about travel and tourism, luxury cruise, hotels, aviation, real estate or whatnot, Travco has an experience of providing experience through almost all of its CX driven domains. So how does Travco crack the CX code precisely? And also if you could quickly introduce us to the brand Travco. Over to you.
Okay, let me first begin with what Travco is all about. So Travco is a large conglomerate. We are based out of Middle East, Europe. It basically has a global presence, but our headquarters are in Middle East, Europe, and Egypt. And we are into multiple businesses, like hospitality is one of our core business, travel is another core. When I talk about hospitality and travel, we are into hotels, luxury cruises, airlines. Then there's the whole online travel piece. Along with this, we have recreation, entertainment, real estate. Yes, it has over 60 companies, including some financial services companies as well. That's what Travco does. And we have, like I said, global presence. We operate in different countries, serving global customers. Now to your second question, that how are we cracking the code? This has always been, this is the foundation of what I do today. Apart from the other things that I handle, one of the things is about how do we generate real good customer experiences, right? As you would be aware that travel and hospitality was the most hit sector over the last 3 years. The way we used to do business about 3 to 4 years back, it's not that we wanted to do it, but we were challenged to rethink in terms of how we want to even do business as such, leave aside interacting with our customers. So as a after effect of it, whatever happened in the last 3 years, we saw that the whole customer behavior changed. It's no more about they getting messages or communications from us only on a transactional perspective. I think that was the biggest challenge, that how do we really imbibe or get the confidence of the customers back, right? They need to feel secure. They need to have that emotional connect with your brand, especially after the post-pandemic or even during the pandemic. So that was one of our, I would say, eureka movements or a challenge moment. And that led us to think that how do we want to operate our business? And also how do we, as a part of it, how do we want to interact with our customers? In terms of how we are breaking the code, there is a 3-step foundation, which I will share later. But at this stage, I think first thing is it comes from analytical leadership in terms of the culture that you're imbibing, which is keep your customers first. Whatever your customers want, I think we are one thing that I can proudly say about Travco and our business is that we're an extremely customer obsessed organization. We keep our customer first in terms of saying what is it that they want. And based on that, we have imbibed a whole culture or formulated a whole culture, right? Number 2 is, like I said, we have about 60 odd companies, and some of the major companies would be about 8 to 10 odd companies. We had to break silos. So a customer needs to feel that when he's talking to Travco, one business, that's a similar experience or an omni-channel experience that he's getting when he talks to all our businesses. So breaking the silos and getting everything together was the second code that we really had to crack. And in fact, I would say we are still not there. We are getting there, but we made some significant progress over the last 3 years when we were talking about that, right? And the third bit is that we have to keep a consistent delivery pattern across all our assets, whether it is offline, whether it is online, whether it is at the hotel operations. So we had to have we have to ensure that we have a plan in place to have that consistent dialogue with our customer along all touch points that he interacts with us on. So I think these are some of the codes, or these are some of the things that we are trying to crack. We are there, we are working on it. We've changed the way we do things in the last 3 years. But yes, these are some significant things that we are working on.
That's amazing. And as you rightly said, that travel sector was one of the gravely hit sectors during the pandemic phase. So, Aditi, I would like to ask, what has it been like for Travco to make a comeback after the world started to operate with the new normal? And how did the CX journey differ for you as a brand between these two phases? So, if you could tell me about that. Yeah.
Yes. So I think I briefly mentioned about this earlier is the first most important thing is that what was the customer expecting from us, right? And I'm going to touch upon when we hit the pandemic and how did we recover and how we're trying to recover out of it. It became more and more important that we had an emotional connect with the customer and having only a transactional connect. Okay, that meant that at every touch point where a consumer interacted with us, whether at the research phase, when he's transacting on our digital platforms or on our platforms, and plus when he goes and experiences the products in our hotels and cruises and real estate, what is that kind of experience that he is getting? So we had to actually come out of the transactional bit of it to developing an emotional connect. And emotional connect came when we had to give him the sense of security, that it's safe to travel, and also adhere to his psychographic traits rather than a very transactional traits of it. So I think these are some of the things that we incorporated. So today, if you go onto a site, you can go live as well and check. So at every touch point, you get that feeling that the places that you're going to be adopting or the products you're going to be choosing, you have that safety assurance. You have the assurance of safety, comfort, and also that there's somebody who's going to be having your back into it. So I think that's one of the first things that happened. Second thing is what we noticed is customers are no more tolerant. The patience levels have gone down. With the rise of social media and online platforms, they have a venting space. So all the more that you have a 24/7 connect with them. And how can you cannot do that manually. It was the evolution and adoption of technology that came up. See, travel and hospitality as a sector always knew that we had to make experiences seamless. It's just that the last 2 years accelerated the adoption of the technology in our sector. What we were doing earlier, maybe we would have done that in 3 and 4 years. Now we've done it in 2 years and we've come out of it. So adoption of technology was one of the major changes that happened in the CX journey, or a CX, I would say, yes, in the CX journey as such, that we did. So this comes from the fact, and then that's layered with the data customer insights. How do we collect data? How do we use data? And see, end of the day, data is just numbers, but you have to see what story the data is saying. So what we did is use the technology, collected the data, used data as a foundation, then made some meaningful insights out of it so that we can understand the customer better and we can serve to their requests. So I think these are some of the changes that have happened, is how you communicate, what you communicate to them. Technology became a big enabler, and more focus on a data-driven organization, which helped us in the way we interact with the customer and overall in the customer experience journey.
All right. And as you rightly said, that the customers have now become a little impatient, or I should say less tolerant. So even I'm a customer, I'm a traveler. So modern travelers like us are tech savvy, demanding and empowered. So we want to book our travel hassle-free and with incredible ease. So how crucial is excellent customer service in the modern travel and hotel industry, or even the aviation industry, I would say? And how do you envision Travco unscrambling that part?
We follow a 3-step framework in our company. Okay. That 3-step framework is, number one, it's been said over and again. There are a lot of big brands who have said that, other brands in other sectors who have said that, is you have to know your customers better than what they know themselves, right? You have to anticipate their needs. And this is what I always say is that we have to aim high. That's our first foundational pillar in our company, is aim high. When you aim high, you have to anticipate the needs of your customers and know them even more than what they know you. So that's our first foundational pillar that we made. in terms of knowing our customers better and also enhancing our customer experience journey is know what they want before. And this obviously happens to data. I don't want to use this fancy word, but it is true. We are working with new age technology companies today on getting machine learning as well as predictive modeling so that we can anticipate their needs much in advance, and make useful insights of the data that we're collecting, right? Number two is look forward. When I say that's the number two is how do we look forward? You want to know your customers better, but you have to also anticipate what they're going to be needing. That means the adoption of tools, technology, platforms, and also partners that we work with. So like I said earlier, we are working with a lot of, in fact, almost about 3 to 4 of the new age companies who are co-developing products with us to enable us with hyper-personalization and predictive modeling to know our customers better and improve our customer experience journey. Number 3 foundation that I always say is humbleness. And this has come, like I said, you were rightly saying that the customers have got so impatient and they're very demanding. More than that, they want to have a 24/7 connection with the brand, especially with the brands in travel and services, right? If they say something, they expect a response then and there. So the third bit is the nimbleness that we came out with, is how fast do you anticipate their needs and have a go-to-market plan formulated so that you can interact and give them what they want. So this is a 3-step foundational pillars that we have kind of incorporated in our organization to anticipate their needs and also the changes that you were talking about.
All right, so you already covered all my questions. So I was wanted to ask about technology, but you've already covered that part. But now I can ask about hyper-personalization as well. So the travel business that stand out, of course, like Travco, offer highly personalized experiences, right? So how is Travco pursuing personalization? As you rightly mentioned about the technologies you're working on. So can you brief a little more about pursuing personalization, and how do you use, like if you could tell us more about the technologies you use for hyper personalizations to understand your customers better?
Sure. So I just want to take you to before this COVID era and before the whole technology adoption of technology took an accelerated phase in our sector. Okay. Yeah. We always believed services industry is about experiences, is about the connect that you have here with your customers. And it's also about the delight or the wow factor that you create in their travel journeys, right? With the adoption of technology, what has primarily happened is that we wanted to ensure that we are doing the same thing to them, but at all touch points of their interaction with our brand. Like I said, whether they are still researching, they do research offline, online, through different mediums. There are enough of social partners out there who do that, where they do it. So what we needed to ensure is that we are collecting the data. This is something that I mentioned earlier as well. Hyper personalization can only be done if you have data collection and you're able to collect the data. One of the biggest challenges of the brand that we faced was that there is data everywhere. We work with multiple external partners, then is an internal partner. How do you consolidate the entire data? And then you start making some story of meaningful insights out of it. I think that's where our core foundation of hyper-personalization rested. Before, hyper-personalization in our sector today is no more a choice or optional. It is a foundation of what we do today. So whether it is offline in hotel operations, or it is when they are interacting with us on different assets of ours, whether it's mobile application, websites, a third-party channel partners, it's about creating those experiences which is customized to them. For that, we are using, there are certain personalization tools that they are working on. And most of them are with the new age companies, which we have co-developed and still doing. And there's still a lot of work happening because the data rests in different everywhere, right? Across our companies, across our channels. So what we're trying to do is consolidate the data using these tools that we have. And now we are trying to derive some meaningful insights out of that.
Okay, and I want to go back to that data churning thing. So, how are you making that possible? So, it must be very overwhelming, very challenging for you to utilize data, leverage it. So, can you just brief about that on that part as well?
Yes. So this is still a big challenge for us, Ojasvi. I wouldn't say we are 100% there, because
Yeah,
with multi-channel, multilingual, multi-geographies, and then multi-businesses,
absolutely.
there is so much data that is resting out there. So I think we just had to draw up priorities, right? That, okay, which are the high impact touch points, or I would say, which are the high impact touch points that we look at first.
Mhm.
Okay, we started. I mean, it's a filtration and a priority process that we had to do. Okay, the data is there. I know there are a lot of tools like your data lakes are there. Then you have your predictive modeling and analysis, but all that can be done when you have your base right. So what we try to do is consolidate the data through an effective CRM. That is something that we are doing.
Mhm.
Through that, we are trying to have a central hub of our data, where now basis that we have started using it for different purposes. It is our business intelligence, whether it's for our pricing and distribution, whether it's for future forecast, and even for that matter, in terms of knowing customer preferences. Now, the layer that we have added on top of this whole data is, we have also started collecting what they talk about us in the form of reviews. And with so much of diverse data sitting everywhere, we're trying to see how we can put machine learning into the reviews and get some predictive sentiment analysis out of that. So I think that's a foundation, that first we sorted out the high impact data points for us. Now that we have the data points, we're trying to see that how can we use it for different channels of our business, whether it's for acquisition, whether it's for pricing, whether it's for distribution, and then for sentiment analysis, loyalty, etc. So that's how we are approaching the data collection, as well as how do you want to put it, to meaningful use.
Brilliant. And now we've spoken in length about the travel and tourism industry. What about the real estate, in addition to travel, which plays a significant part of Travco Group? So, if you could brief about that,
Good part about our company
Aditi.
is that while we are into travel and hospitality, we also operate into the luxury segment. So our cruises and hotels have been in the luxury segment. Like I said, our products are in the upscale or the luxury. Now for the real estate business as such. So on the real estate, our average transaction values are extremely high. And also, the consumer behavior also kind of changes, because it's a one-time interaction, but a large ATV that we have when it comes to a real estate business. So when you talk about CX, though, the approach that we have done is, number one, they want to know, like I said, first thing is emotional connect. How do they feel that you are delivering them the product, or what we offer them as a part of a real estate product offering matches their lifestyle? So it's like how we are becoming a part of what they want. Number two is communication, is through content. So content for us plays a very big role, that what are we communicating? How are we communicating to them? Right. So that's a second level or a lever of a whole customer experience journey, is the content that we're trying to show to them. And third thing is, this is actually started in one of our Middle East offices. We are again using technology to give them a real-time experience, which is in the form of the AR and VR of the product that they're going to actually purchase. So they get a first-hand experience by again our AR VR technology of what they are going to be interacting with. So our real estate business is not only residential and commercial, we also have something called entertainment and recreation. Now, here the stakes are even higher, because for recreation, we have golf, and we operate in water parks and amusement parks. So there, I think the first thing is that who are the influencers are your children. So we had to have that assurance through our communication, through our content, that how is it okay for them to travel different continents and consume our products. That's number one. And number two is by giving on-ground actual experience, because that word of mouth and the whole review system then comes into play as well. So that's how a real estate business has churned out, is again, major steps, like just to summarize what I said, is it's a high a transaction value business. They need to know what they're getting into. And that happens through an effective content marketing and communication plans. Number two is the technology with real-time experiences that we give them. And lastly is to ensure that on-ground experiences matches what they have seen in the earlier funnel of their customer journey.
Okay, so we have spoken about customer experience, we've spoken about customers, travel industry, real estate. So now when we have customer data, we also have a sense of responsibility, right? So I would really like to ask, how do you deal with the cybersecurity amid so many breaches going around? So how do you ensure that your customer data is secure?
For this, I think it's a very pertinent question because see, for us, for our operations, we like I said, we operate globally, and some of our biggest markets we are Europe, Russia, UK, GCC, and US, where the compliances and the regulations are even stricter and very varied than what one country's regulations and compliances are very different from the other one. So I think here, luckily, I'm supported by we have an IT team. So I look after the digital tech product side of it. And then we have a very structured IT team who is actually looking into this. But just to give you an overview, for us, the foundation is that, or the fundamental is that moving from just compliance, we want to move to an all-inclusive data security culture. Mm-hmm. Okay, so it's no more about just ensuring that we are compliant to a DSS, or we are compliant to GDPR, but having an all-inclusive data security, cyber security system in place. And this happens through a number of ways. I think just to give you some of the important points in terms of how we ensure that, number one, the churn. Is ensuring that your workforce is very because we have different touch points. The data is being consumed and accessed by a lot of people, by almost 25,000-30,000 people across our company, right? So we have to ensure that we have a very trained workforce. There are regular cyber security training sessions that are done by the people who are relevant in a field, and also for different geographies. It's not only about one country. That's number one that we are kind of looking at. The second is, obviously, that's the base foundation, that we ensure that we are following all regulations, like your PCI, DSS, GDPR. We have teams in our system that look after that we are compliant in all aspects across our platforms. That's number two. Number three is we follow a fundamental of very need-based access. Because we have so many businesses, different touch points, right, and different geographies, we limit the accesses to the data that is given to the employees as basis their need. It's and especially to the sensitive people. The sensitive information, the access is very limited for the sensitive information that we have. And number two, we do have cybersecurity measures such as firewalls, network monitoring, anti-malware, and traffic filtering. So there is a team of ours that actually tries to replicate the instances, that on a regular basis replicates the instances to know that how would a malware software interact. So we try to mirror that and see, are we effective enough to counter this? So this is the fourth bit. And I think the fifth is, I can't emphasize more, that you need to know where your data is stored. And who is accessing that data. So we have like a central repository now. We're getting there. I'm not saying that for 60 of our companies, we're still there. So we have a central data where we are looking to store our data, and the accesses to the sensitive information is going to be quite restricted. So these are some of the steps that we're taking in terms of, apart from the others, because we do have dedicated teams who are just doing and looking into the security and privacy, as well as the privacy components of data. But yes, this is what we're doing. But I think the fundamental line is, from being just a regulatory driven organization, we are looking at an all-inclusive cybersecurity approach.
Great insights, Aditi. I think we are moving on to the end now. And thank you so much for such great insights and sharing some important points with us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here. And the pleasure is all mine.